People who have been in a coma, what was it like from your perspective? Did you know you were in a coma? Voiced by Reddit Rabbit. I was in a coma for about 2 weeks following a cardiac arrest as a teen. I was technically dead for over an hour, in fact. People often ask me if I could hear my family talking to me or if I was dreaming. The answer is no. There is a huge hole in my memory beginning about 2 weeks before the coma through a week after waking up. And waking up is in quotes because I would wake up, ask a bunch of semi-incoherent questions, fall back under, then wake up again and ask the exact same questions, in the exact same order. Repeat 6 or 7 times. The coma was not even blackness, it just does not exist. I remember having the hardest time believing it was actually mid-October when the last day I remembered was late September. I was in a coma for 3 days following a serious cycling accident, medically induced. I woke up with zero recollection of why I was there or what was said while I was out. It is easily the scariest situation I found myself in, but I can't say I remember it. I woke up to my mom and dad in the hospital with me and my body in traction of some sort, and that was way scarier to me. The person I knew in a coma was in it for about 3 weeks and had no recollection of being in a coma. The doctor was saying his name real loud and he finally woke up one day. The doctor asked him if he was, let's say, Terry. The patient said, "Yes, and whom do I have the pleasure of speaking to?" Back to the doctor. "Whom's the fuck, sir?" I had a seizure and was in a medically induced coma for 3 days when I was 17. To be honest, I don't remember anything. I remember fading in and out of the anesthesia trying to pull my breathing tube out and that my hands were restrained to the bed so I couldn't. When I woke up and was coherent, I couldn't recall anything from actually being in the coma. They had even moved me to a hospital over 100 miles away. It was really just nothing but black. No dreams, no lights, no voices, just nothing. Dunno. I was in a coma for 11 days. Severe brain injury. I don't remember being in a coma or waking up from a coma. I lost several years of memories prior to the coma, and my brain didn't really start to retain information again until approx 6 weeks after I came out of the coma. I'm told that my personality changed afterwards. I had to rebuild most areas of my life. It sucked, but it was probably a good thing. Although I'd be lying if I said I never wondered what my life would be like if I'd never had the coma. A friend of mine was in a 6-month coma after an accident. Afterwards, he made sure to tell everyone around him to talk to people in a coma because they can hear you. But he noted that they should always tell the person in a coma what happened, where they are, and what's happening to them, because he said that his moments of lucidity were mixed with some truly horrifying dreams, and he had trouble distinguishing between what was real and what were dreams. He said he just wanted to be told what was real and what was happening. I was placed in a medical coma for a week when I was younger, and I can relate to this. The only moments I can remember is this. I was falling through a series of hospital rooms with my mom asking me to wake up, which I suppose was the case. But the moment that stood out to me after the fact was I had this moment where I thought these lobster men, for lack of a better term, made of pure darknesses, were attacking me and were planning to do all they could to keep me under, and I panicked and fought back. That's all I remember from that, but after I came to, my stepfather told me at one point during the coma I was awake and was fighting the staff and pulling out IVs and feeding tubes to try to escape. The only reason I knew this is because when I became lucid again, I was handcuffed to my bed and asked what happened. I was put in an induced coma when I was 9 years old after a pretty bad car accident, which left me with a fractured skull. All I remember is a bad dream about having a bad headache, and hearing my older sister telling everyone, including my parents, to get the fuck out of her way because she wanted to see me. I found out later that this was on the night it happened, and they were trying to calm her down before she saw me. Edit. For those who are telling me to let her know how awesome she is, I made sure to, not quite but almost, hug the life out of her when she got back from work. My friend was in a coma about 10 years ago for roughly 3 weeks. Car accident. When he woke up, we visited him, and when I was alone with him, he told me it was like a lucid dream. The real world was gone, and he felt like he was in a world he could create himself for years. He was dead serious too. He talked on and on about how he had a slight understanding that he was not in the real world anymore, and that he thought he might be in heaven. About how he felt like he was actually dying, and his last few seconds just stretched on and on forever. He said that's what it felt like. He mentioned that he could fly in the coma dream, and that it was amazing. He spent a little while in the hospital, then went home, did physical therapy for about 2 weeks before killing himself with pain pills and vodka. People thought the pain was too much, that it was an accidental overdose, or that the therapy and the accident made him feel helpless and depressed. Honestly, I think he wanted back into his lucid dream world. The way he talked about it was like the best thing he ever experienced. A few years ago, my dad was in a medically induced coma for about 2 weeks. Everyone thought he was completely unconscious the whole time until he woke up and started mentioning conversations people had around him while he was under. This even surprised the doctors. He said that from his perspective, it was like he was asleep most of the time, but he would occasionally wake up and could hear what was going on around him without being able to move or do anything before he would eventually drift back to sleep. After being in a really bad accident that left one of my good friends brain dead, the driver, they put me into a chemically induced coma for under a week to prevent brain damage due to swelling. When I first woke up, my memory was much better than it was as it gradually faded in the days to come. I have a journal my mother recorded things in, and I recalled many things I shouldn't have been able to immediately after waking up. Today, I have very little memory of it all, but I can definitely say that having positive people around you definitely helps when you're in a situation like that. If you have a friend in this situation, don't disregard them. Even though your life has moved on, they may wake up one day, and in their mind, not a day has passed since the last conversation they had with you. I was out for 45 days. No white light, no tunnel, nothing. Woke up and couldn't remember who I was. For 6 months, never really fully recovered, so I just started life again. Turns out I'm a completely different person than I was, and that's a really good thing. I get memories now and then. They aren't pleasant. A woman came and sat by my bed for 6 weeks. Turns out she was my ex-lover. I couldn't remember her. Didn't recognize my mother. Afterward. This is the second time in my life I have related this much about my life publicly, and it has been good and at the same time really painful. Thanks to everyone for being kind. I wrote this story 7 months ago and published it in the lounge, and I really hurt myself doing it. This time I wanted to share about the life afterwards, and I hope it has been of some benefit to others that struggle with mental issues. This place saves lives, gives hope and guidance to millions of people, and I feel lucky to be part of the community. I had severe swelling on the right side of my brain. They had to relieve the pressure and blood inside, and that did a bunch of damage to my memories. Later, things started to come back, but I have familiar feelings about people and places, but not a lot of collected memories. As people told me who I used to be, I knew it was right, but I didn't want to accept it. And I used that a lot at first to not take responsibility for where I was. I still have a lot of problems mentally, but it's gotten better as new pathways open up. I get lost mid-sentence sometimes. I have severe anxiety socially and a huge crease in the side of my skull. They took a piece of my skull out and put it in my stomach for a while until the swelling went down. I don't know what happened exactly, but once I woke up in the hospital, I have a pretty good recall from that point forward. I have serious short-term memory loss. There is a point where if I really lock something in and dwell on it for a minute, I will remember it. But if I just glance over it or don't give it much thought, I can't remember it. Part of that was actual damage to my brain, and part of it was oxygen deprivation. I almost never remember going to the bathroom in the morning, so I have to check a little list to make sure I'm not constipated. I just carry a little book around and try and make notes of stuff I might forget. Important things go into my smartphone calendar. Little stuff like eating or pooping goes into the book. When it's full, I throw it away. My girlfriend of 6 years and sort of fiance was in a severe car crash when she was 16. Both of her best friends died instantly. She was the only survivor, but they didn't think she would make it. She was in a coma for 9 months. She was in what is called a waking coma. She retained normal periods of sleep and open-eyed wakefulness, but no higher brain functions. Here are some things about her experience. She doesn't have any memories of the year prior or the year and a half-ish after her coma, and obviously no memories of the car crash. She suffered a TBI, and when she first got out of the coma, she would get naked and sexual with people, and anger very easily. These are common problems of people who suffer a TBI. She went back to school after the coma, but her brain was still healing a lot. She was held back another year because her brain was still not retaining anything. Today, she is a wonderful, bright 30-year-old with a college degree. She has a slight speech impediment, gets frustrated easier than most, and it took her a while to get driving down. Honestly, she still scares the hell out of me when she drives. But there are worse drivers out there. My husband was in a coma for a couple weeks. He got pneumonia his freshman year of college. The coma was medically induced because he had a really bad immune system or something. He told me all he remembered was waking up really confused and with a really full beard. AMD, when he did wake up, he was still in a lot of pain, so they gave him a ton of medicine, and it made him kinda high, and he wasn't all there when his friends visited. I was in a medically induced coma following a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I don't remember much, but my family described moments of me appearing to be awake. Most notable, an apparent attempt at humor. Apparently, they put these MITs on my hands to prevent me from ripping my ventilation tubes out over and over, but I pretended they were my lobster claws. I have no recollection, but it's a real me move. Edit. I've never known so much kindness. Truly. My heart is very full right now. Voiced by Reddit Rabbit. Don't forget to like and follow us, it helps us grow.